Here's a quick no-nonsense guide on how to solo flawless the new Warlord's Ruin dungeon on any class. Warlord's Ruin is the easiest dungeon to solo flawless to date. All you'll need is a solar subclass with the fragments Ember of Solace, Torches, and Empyrean. Also make sure to equip at least one recuperation mod on your leg armor and one emergency reinforcement mod on your chest armor. Picking up orbs will instantly heal you, and when your shield breaks you'll have added damage resistance. With these two mods on, you'll be able to pick up orbs and heal yourself even if your super is full. Hunters, you'll want to run a healing grenade, otherwise you won't be able to take advantage of restoration. And the Shards of Galanor exotic arm piece, so your Blade Barrage super recharges extremely quickly. Titans, you'll also want to run a healing grenade and the Lordly Splendor exotic helm piece. This will drop a sunspot at your feet when you become low on health and have a fully charged class ability. Warlocks will want the He Rises aspect and Phoenix Dive class ability. This will apply restoration ×2 for a short duration when using Phoenix Dive while He Rises is active. Make sure you have a red bar enemy close by when activating so you can extend the timer right away. I recommend using the Sunbracer's Gauntlet because for a short duration after a powered melee kill, you'll have unlimited solar grenades to clear adds and activate He Rises with. Warlord's Ruin starts with a small platforming section. When you spawn in, follow the path up the mountain until you see this large rock protruding in the middle of the path. Jump on the rock and turn around to continue making your way to the first encounter. Don't open the first chest in this area, it's a trap. Just continue scaling the right side of the mountain and eventually you'll come up on a bridge. This is the entrance to the dungeon. The first boss is a pushover. The mechanics are as followed. For the first 30 seconds or so, adds will spawn. After some time, the boss will spawn a Dark Ether totem. You must stand around these totems and cleanse them in order to do damage to the boss. The more totems you cleanse, the more time you'll have during the damage phase. As soon as the first totem spawns, you will be teleported into one of 3 cages around the map that rise up towards spikes. In order to escape, you must destroy 3 blighted eyes. If you fail to destroy all 3 blights and escape, you will die. I recommend having an auto rifle for this part because you won't have to worry too much about ammo and you can find the blights relatively fast if you're hip firing. Just make sure to destroy the lowest blight first because while the cage rises up, the lowest blight will become increasingly harder to destroy the longer you wait. As soon as you escape the cage, activate Restoration. There will be a lot of adds waiting for you and you'll still need to cleanse the totems in order to start a damage phase. It will take roughly 7 seconds to cleanse a totem and the boss can spawn a max of 2 totems. You will have 30 seconds in total to escape the cage and cleanse both totems before DPS can start, as indicated by the Imminent Wish timer on the bottom left of your screen. If no totems are activated, DPS won't start and you will just need to wait for the cycle to reset. My recommended loadout is an auto rifle in your primary slot. This will be used on the blights when you're caged up. The Dead Messenger exotic waveframe grenade launcher with the perk Unrelenting. This will restore your health when getting multi-kills with the weapon. The spread of the blast along with Unrelenting makes this weapon a no-brainer for the first encounter. Plus, Dead Messenger can become a solar weapon, allowing it to extend your restoration timer. And for boss damage, any sword with Relentless Strikes and either Surrounded or Whirlwind Blade as a damage increasing perk. You'll also want to have the Loosened Blade chest armor mod so your heavy attacks recharge much faster. During the damage phase, just pay attention to your restoration timer and refresh when needed. After the first encounter, you will be teleported into a jail cell. To free yourself, you will need to shoot 6 gears and make them turn in the right direction. When a gear is shot, it will first turn counterclockwise. On the second shot, the gear will stop, and with a third shot, it will turn clockwise. There are 2 skeletons around the map pointing at tally marks. This will indicate the direction the gears need to rotate and how many gears need to rotate in that particular direction. The order in which you shoot the gears doesn't matter as long as the gears are spinning in the correct direction. The skeleton located next to the jail cell where you spawn in indicates how many of the 6 gears you will need to have spin clockwise. The remaining set of gears will need to spin counterclockwise. This changes every game. Once you have all 6 gears spinning in the correct direction, shoot the glowing lever and you will be free. Here is a map of the encounter with all the gear locations for reference. Once you free yourself from the jail cell, you will be in another platforming section. This section is relatively straightforward. Navigate your way through the castle, but be careful, there are spike traps hidden throughout the walls and floor. Just follow the route I take on screen and you'll be safe. When you finally make it outside of the castle, you will need to cross a bridge that's guarded by a bunch of enemies and a boss at the very end. When the boss is killed, any remaining enemies will despawn, so I like to skip all the enemies and just rush the boss while I have my super. I like to equip Strand at the very beginning of this platforming section so I have my grapple and super for this part. Side note, while in any of these platforming sections, I wouldn't risk opening any of the extra chests you might find along the way because they could be traps and change every game. The second encounter is a bit harder than the first, but that's due to the ad density in this encounter. The mechanics are as followed. Shoot the Taken Blight in the middle to start the encounter. 2 groups of Taken taken will spawn next to the boss, one on the left, the other on the right. Among the two groups of taken are yellow bar minotaurs. You'll want to kill these enemies first. They don't contribute to the encounter other than pose a threat if you don't take care of them. These minotaurs will respawn after every damage phase. You'll notice that there will be 6 blighted eyes above the boss. Once all 6 blights are destroyed, 2 Scorn mini-bosses will spawn in, one on the left and the other on the right. These Scorn mini-bosses spawn totems just like in the first encounter. You'll have 30 seconds to activate the totems indicated by the Imminent Wish text on the bottom left of your screen. The catch is, as soon as the first totem spawns in, a debuff called Biting Cold will start to count upwards towards 10. If it reaches 10, you will die. There are 5 torches in the back of the map you can stand next to that will reset the Biting Cold timer. Here is a map of the encounter with the locations of the 2 Scorn mini-bosses and all 5 torches for reference. You should let the Scorn mini-bosses spawn a totem before killing them, this way you have 2 totems to activate at the same time. If you end up killing the Scorn mini-bosses too quickly, you'll only end up with 1 totem to activate. With every totem you activate, a solar charge will appear in the starting room. You must take these solar charges and deposit them in the podiums around the boss. In order to start a damage phase, you must deposit 4 solar charges. As soon as you pick up a solar charge, you will have 15 seconds to deposit it in one of the 4 podiums. These charges don't disappear if you don't pick them up, which allows you to set up before starting your damage phase. It's best to deposit the last solar charge at the podium you plan on starting your damage phase at. During DPS, the Biting Cold debuff will be active and you will need to stand next to the podiums in order to damage the boss and prevent a wipe. You will have 15 seconds to damage the boss. Afterwards, you must travel to the next podium in order to continue your damage phase. Once you travel and do damage at all 4 podiums, rinse and repeat until the boss is dead. The loadout I recommend for this encounter is the Zauli's Bane hand cannon with explosive payload and Firefly, the new scatter signal fusion rifle with overflow paired with controlled burst, and the Dragon's Breath exotic rocket launcher. On your chest armor, you'll want a void resistance mod for the snipers that will periodically spawn throughout the fight. Before starting your damage phase, make sure you have restoration active and a red bar enemy close by so you can extend your restoration timer after depositing the final solar charge. While damaging the boss, Taken Thrall will occasionally spawn around you, allowing you to extend your restoration timer further. Start your damage phase by shooting the Dragon's Breath at the boss. Quickly switch to the scatter signal and dump all your ammo into the boss. After 2 ignitions go off, switch back to the Dragon's Breath and repeat. If for whatever reason you think you're gonna die during your damage phase, you can always back off and go to one of the 5 torches in the back of the map and reset. Also, be careful while using Dragon's Breath because it can accidentally kill you if the boss gets too close. After you complete the second encounter, go ahead and switch back to Strand in order to have some forgiveness with the grapple grenade. Be ready, as throughout this platforming section there will be groups of ads waiting to ambush you and catch you off guard. Just keep your distance and follow the route I take on screen and you'll be fine. If you happen to miss your jump or the platform you're standing on falls, just use the grapple grenade to save yourself. The boss encounter works exactly like the second encounter without the Biting Cold debuff. Destroy all 6 blighted eyes around the boss in order to spawn 2 Scorn mini-bosses that will occasionally spawn totems. The only difference is that this time there will be taken blights that spawn in periodically throughout the map that will damage you while you're standing near them. Also, when the totems become active, you will have a 15-second debuff timer called Hex of Vengeful Corruption that will wipe you if you don't get rid of it in time. The way you get rid of the Vengeful Corruption debuff is by using your melee on the glowing orange bar Scorn called the Corrupted Hex Drinker. Be careful, they can pass the debuff back to you if you take damage from them. It's best to melee this enemy when your timer reaches 5 seconds. This will give you enough time to run away, and if for some reason you get tagged with the debuff again, you'll have enough time to pass it back. Just like throughout the entire dungeon, the amount of totems you activate will determine how long your damage phase will be. I personally could only activate 2 totems at a given time, providing an 11-second damage phase. After you deal enough damage to the boss indicated by their health bar, they will rotate to the next part of the map. After 3 damage phases, the boss will reach the top of the map where you can take advantage of an additional 3 damage phases. Stand on one of the 3 platforms to start the damage phase. The length of each phase will be determined by the blighted eyes around the boss. The more blights you destroy, the longer your damage phase will be before you need to rotate to the next platform. After the 3 bonus damage phases, you will be teleported to the bottom of the map, rinse and repeat until the boss is dead. When the boss's health reaches final stand, you will be teleported to a separate arena. You'll have unlimited time to damage the boss. Just make sure to occasionally destroy the blights surrounding the boss so you can refresh your restoration timer when needed. For your loadout, I recommend using the exotic hand cannon Sunshot. This weapon will clear any group of ads in one shot with a massive explosion that will keep the boss room clear of any potential threats. Continue Continue using the Scatter Signal Fusion Rifle to deal with the Scorn mini-bosses and blights that will spawn around the map. And for boss damage, use the Retrofit Escapade with 4th Time the Charm and Target Lock. Titans and Warlocks can stand still in their sunspots and Well Irradiant Super. Hunters will need to be more mobile to stay alive. Equip the Shards of Galanor exotic arm piece and use your Blade Barrage Super at the beginning of every damage phase to compensate for the damage loss caused by movement. Remember to play it safe, as attempting a solo flawless run does take some time and commitment. Hopefully you found this video helpful and you're able to solo this dungeon flawlessly. Let me know your experience in the comments below, subscribe for more, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.